Hi Flosstube. Today is July 22nd, 2025. This is my Flosstube number 10. My name is Jill with Chawton Linens, and thank you for coming over. Last time I was here, I was with my sister Kimmy, and we shared lots of fun things related to needlework and quilting and sewing. Today I don't have her with me, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to do this on my own. But that's okay. She will be coming back. So today I have a lot to share with you. Lots have happened since June. I do have my book of days here. So this will help me keep on track. So in June, after my sister and I did the video, my daughter Josie and her boyfriend Noah came for a visit for about 10 days. And so that was really fun to spend time with them. And then right after they left, we left for England. And we were there for 2 weeks. We came back July 9th. And then I just had a couple of weeks here dyeing fabric for my Etsy shop and stitching a little bit. But I did do a lot of stitching while I was in England. And so while I show you my whips and different things, I will share with you some experiences that I had in England, which include some Jane Austen visits in Bath and in Chawton, where I went to Jane's house. And I also went to Cowslip in Cornwall. So I will share some things about that. So I'm going to give you an overview so you can decide if you want to stick around. I have previous finishes. I have a couple of finishes. I have whips to show you, haul, which includes some things from Cowslip, and some travel, and I have a really fun story to share that I'm really excited to tell you about, and it has to do with cross stitch and meeting somebody very special. I also have some plans to share with you and some shop things in my shop that are new that are related to Jane Austen. So let's just get started. I wanted to, first of all, thank Kimmy for filming with me last month. And thank you so much for all of your comments and support. And I've also been sharing on Instagram some of her stitches with you, and I'm still not finished with that. I'm trying to build my Instagram, and so Kimmy's helping me. And so here and there you will see when you do go to my Instagram, everything that I have is Chawton Linens. So my shop is Chawton Linens, my Instagram is Chawton Linens, and of course this channel. So Kimmy's a beautiful stitcher. She's beautiful inside and out. I love her. And so I will continue to share some of her projects and then also some of her progress. And so you're not confused as to why I have, I talked about Kimmy a lot. So she's one of my cast characters on my show. So I call this my show. I don't know why. All right, so let's just get started with a previous finish that I have, and it's a Prairie Schooler. And this is, I don't even know, I think it's just called Summer. I couldn't find the chart. So this is a stitch that I did a few years back, and I just really love it. I used all of the called for colors. Prairie Schooler colors, just so vintage and I don't know, homespun. And I love the saying, when the days are hot, I like to find a shady spot. Hum of bees, birds and trees, the scent of flowers in the breeze. And then there's the alphabet on the bottom. And then the swan, the flowers, the butterflies, all things summer. This box here, you have a choice of what scene you want to do, and I chose, there's like 4 different options because there's a small that goes with it, and I didn't stitch that, but if I can find my chart, I would love to stitch that. Okay, and then another Prairie Schooler previous finish that I have, and I think I've shown this before, but I wanted to pull this out because I think they go together. And this is summer, and this is part of, I think it's called Prairie Seasons. It's a chart that has all 4 seasons in it. And then, of course, we have our little goslings in there and our little beehive on the bottom. This was stitched on, both of these were stitched, my frame piece, and this was the Monaco 28 count that I tea-dyed myself. So those were back in the days when I started back into cross stitch, and I watched Priscilla and Chelsea, and this is how I got started with working on, you know, just playing around with my own tea dyeing and things like that, and decided to go from, I've actually have tried linen before, and I'd never have stitched on an even weave, and so this was my first experience. And so that, both of those are, I think it might be 32 count. I'm going to have to mark my my finished pieces so I remember. So those are 2 of my previous finishes, and then I do have a big finish that I shared on my Instagram, and I had it on my last Flosstube, and that is Teresa Kogat, Land That I Love. And I was so close to a finish, and I really wanted to enjoy the last few stitches, and I did in one sitting. I love just sitting down and finishing this, and this is what I have. So Land That I Love, all of the called for colors, and I'm just gonna do this so you can kind of see. I stitched this on brown paper, 36 count XU design. And I absolutely love it. I just had the bottom corner and just went through and made sure I got all of the little stitches. I found a couple things that I'd missed, so I'm glad that I was able to go through it and find it. I had a frame that I thrifted that in mind for this, and I got it out, took out the old glass, and then I thought it was the perfect fit, and it almost was the perfect fit. However, my frame was warped, and I just no, I'm not gonna even mess with it. I want to, I'll probably go to Hobby Lobby and find a frame for this one because it's so big and special, and I spent so much time on it. So that is my finish, and I have one other finish that I'm going to share with you during my Cornwall experience, and that will be in with my whips. And before we do that, I just wanted to share with you some new project bag bundles. Now, if you've watched my Flosstube before, if you've looked at my Etsy shop, I do offer a bundle set to make a project bag. And so I've done Americana by Lori Holt, her new fabric that came out. And I still have a couple of those left. And this is what our new bundle looks like. It's a Jane Austen with the new Emma fabrics. And I have 3 different charms to choose from, and I'll show you those. And then I'll just go through what's inside the bundle. There's a ½ a yard of Pellon fleece that's fusible. I have two fabrics that are ½ a yard each that coordinate, and they're from the new, the Emma fabrics have been out for some time, but the charm is new. And the flat fold not half yards, but 1 yard bundles that I purchased to put these together, they were new. And so the fabric is fairly new. The charms are brand new. And I also have a needle minder. So I'll keep on track here, Jill. Okay, so I've got a zipper, and this is the Lori Holt zipper that's the double. I'll show you. And then it has the charm. So it has the half yard. So 1 yard total of fabric. And then you get the zipper that has the double pulls. So I'll demonstrate. It looks like this. And so what I did is I put together a bag for myself using the Emma fabrics. And so what I did is I just used the front and back are the same except for the top strip here above the zipper, and then the lining. And then this is the stag, which is the family, I think they call it the family crest for Jane Austen's family. And so that is part of a historical part of the fabrics. All of the Jane Austen fabrics that Riley Blake has done are licensed fabrics in a collaboration with the Jane Austen House in Chawton, England. And so everything, if you look, like here's the charm, and I took the plastic off so you can see this is one of the charms, and then on the back you can see this is the emblem for the Jane Austen's house, 250 years of Jane Austen. And this is the bag when I went, which I'll show you what I have in here later, but this is the actual gift bag from the shop, the gift shop inside Jane's house. And so you can see that Riley Blake has collaborated with them, and they have licensed their products. So this is a charm. So in the bundles, I'll have 3 options for charms. This one, which is called the silhouette charm. This is the embroidery hoop. That's so pretty. Love it. And then, so this pack has that one. And then I made another bag, and I'll show you. This is the family crest. Okay, and so I did the inside there, and this is my back. I have a thread. So I love these bags. I use a tutorial that Elizabeth Ann can stitch. She has a Flosstube. She's done a tutorial, and it's several years old, but it is fantastic. I love the tutorial, and it just makes a clean, simple bag, and all of your seams inside your bag, everything is covered. And so there's a little trick to it. And every single time I make the bag, I have to go back to the tutorial because I want to make sure that I get the steps right so that you can turn it so all of your seams are inside. So I'll show you 2 more bundles that I put together, and then some of the other fabric options that you have. So you can, and then I'll have them numbered, and then you can, and then it will tell you which charm is with what. Okay, so this one has some beautiful fabrics in there with a silhouette charm and a gray zipper. So that's an option. There's going to be 10 different fabric combinations. And this also has the navy family crest, and then some floral fabric with the gold. Okay, and then I'll show you. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but here's another option. So this is just like the one I did. I did the cream, and this is the blue. Isn't that cute? And the navy version. And then this is the fabric. Oh, and all the fabrics are in this Emma collection are named after Emma and her friends. So, for example, this is Mrs. Bates. And so I put together those two. And this one here. It's really pretty. I love this one. It'd be pretty like this to do a bag, you know, with the fabric going this way. So pretty. And I also have in my shop currently, like, since I came back from England, I've put fat quarter bundles and that are either 3 pieces or 4 pieces of fabric. I also have half yard bundles with 3 or 4 pieces of coordinating, and then on 1 yard bundles. And then I named the bundles after Emma and her friends. So for example, there's a Mr. Knightley and a Frank Churchill and a Harriet Smith and a Jane Fairfax, of course Emma Woodhouse and Mrs. Bates. And so those have been going, especially the fat quarters have been going quickly. If you're interested, jump on and see what you can find, because those are going fast. And whatever I don't sell, I'll put them into bundles. But I do have a lot of charms, and I do have a lot of fabric, and so but eventually they're going to sell out. And my rep told me that Jane Austen is hot right now, and we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of her birth. And so I have a lot to share with you, Jane Austen related, and a lot of it has to do with my travel to England. So that's what I have in my shop. And then another announcement, I don't have the fabric with me. I'll probably do another Flosstube at the beginning of August, where I am going to launch my summer colors. In my last video with Kimmy, I showed 2 of my colors, which is Cascade Springs, which is like a green, kind of a green beige color, like it's just a very faint green. Canyonlands has some brown and beige with some more modeling to it. And then Sago Lily, which I've posted on my Instagram, and that's a very, very light, kind of like a lemony color. And Sago Lily is the state flower of Utah. And Canyonlands, of course, is in Utah. Cascade Springs is a hike up the mountain that I went on with my family as a little girl, and I've taken my kids, and it's just a very fun and beautiful area in Utah. And then of course, so I have a lot of colors now. I have 12 colors, and Salty Lake will be coming out in hopefully the end of August, September. I'm waiting for my dye to work for that time of year. So Salty Lake is definitely going to be a fall color, which I can only produce in the fall. And so that'll kind of make it special, right? So check out my colors, and then check back in August 1st and all through, and onwards to see my colors in my shop, the summer collection. So that's it for shop news. So let's move on with some whips. So before England, I slowly worked on a Plum Street called Always Remember, and I started this in May, the end of May, first part of June. And what I did is, and I shared this with in my previous video, that I changed the colors out. I'm not using the pink And so you'll see what I did with I'm probably going to grab a board so that I kind of don't have a, that's better. Okay, so I'm using, this is the called for linen, which is Eucalyptus by Fox and Rabbit, and this is 36 count. And I changed the color of the house to DMC 822. And then the roof, I changed. It is, the called for is brown. And then I just did some gray tones. So here are my colors. Let's see, what did I do for the roof? I did this one. Soot by Gentle Arts. And then I'm doing the windows, or the stars in the windows with the rain shower, which is Classic Color Works. And then Pelican Gray I'm using for the window, the frames in the window. And then the eagles are the called for. And the poppies, I am using Old Red Paint by Gentle Arts and Winterberry. So there's 3 different reds, I think. Old Red Paint. Actually, I just have 2 right now. I need to grab another one, a little bit lighter one, because I realized, oh, I need 3 shades. So there you go. And I have this in my Americana bag that I made with the Lori Holt fabric. Same idea. I use the same tutorial. It has the Americana. I still have, I think I have like 4 of these left in my shop. This is the cider Americana fabric. And then what I've done is, you'll have enough, if you buy the bundle with the 2 half yards, you'll have enough to make a thread bed. And so this is just something that I did for each of my bags to match. This, see how messy I am? Just keep some of my loose threads in here, and then I just put a piece of wool right there and just sew it up. So you just take a really sturdy, fusible piece of like craft interfacing, and then you just cut it to the size you want, the rectangle that you want. And I think this one is like 12 by 7.5, and then you just iron it onto your fabric, and then you cut a margin of about 1 inch around, and then you just take it to your mat and your cutter, and you just do half or 1 inch around, and then you just fold it and take it to your sewing machine and just sew it on, and then you put a snap on or whatever you have to enclose it, or you don't even have to enclose it if you don't have a snap, or you could do a magnet, whatever you have on hand. Just keep it simple, right? Okay. When I made those, I just kind of came up with something on my own. Maybe you'll find a better way to do it. All right. So when we went to England. Okay. So before we went to England, I had started this an ode to libraries. My mother-in-law, Roger's mother, she passed away in May, the end of May. And on the day that we heard the news, she lives in England. And on the day we heard the news, I wanted to just do a stitch in honor of her. And so I had this in my stash. This was a new release in market for this year. And so I had a piece of Brown Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. And it looked like, oh, I think that'll look good. And so I started stitching the butterfly, and then I paused it because I didn't have this misty mauve to do the inside of the butterfly, to finish the butterfly and the words. And so I had ordered that, so I just put it on pause. But I did start it in honor of Wendy. And then when we went over, I decided that I would pick it back up on the day of her service. And so we arrived, and you know when you have travel plans and you try your best to plan everything, and sometimes things don't work out the way you plan them, or sometimes they work out even better than you had planned. So that's what happened to us. Everything related to our trip, to the services, to honoring Wendy, to all of our travels, and mainly being with close family and friends. Everything turned out better than we had planned. And I felt like we were just so blessed and so looked after, which I think we were. So on the day of, I didn't think I'd get emotional. The service was at Bodmin Crematorium. I think that's what you call it. They call it the Bodmin Crem. And I didn't know what to expect because I had never been to a crematorium before. I had never been in that type of a service. And I didn't really know what to expect. And so we had arrived the day before her service. And when we, after we got our car rental and stopped a few times and kind of got closer to Cornwall, we had messaged Roger's sister and said, hey, we're almost there. And she says, oh, just go straight to the mortuary so that you can see Mom, because they're going to be closing in a few minutes. So we got there right on time. We weren't even really planning on seeing her, but we got there right on in time to do that and to kind of just help us prepare for the next day, which was a really sweet experience. And then the next day, in the morning, we gathered, and that place was just magnificent. You walk into, and I think I'll show you a picture if Roger's okay with it, but you walk into, it's like almost like a chapel, and instead of the back wall being a wall, it's just a window, and you can see an open field with beautiful trees. And the service was very short and sweet. It's 30 minutes long. But during the whole time, there were birds flying back and forth, and it was just a beautiful day. Like the best ever weather you can get in Cornwall for a day in June, and the end of June. And it was just beautiful. It was just a beautiful day. So that whole day just went as planned, and Roger's sister did so much work in preparing that. We just basically showed up and did some other things, some kind of admin things remotely, but that day was just really special. And then we got back and rested a little bit, and we went to dinner. And then on the way home, that morning I had, before the service, I had started on the butterfly. And I don't know what I did with the board. Oh, it's right here. So I woke up early, and it was really quiet, so I thought, I'm just going to start on the butterfly. So I started on the butterfly. And if you notice, I actually switched my linen. So this is my linen. I decided to just make it a little more simple and not so mottled. So this is my Deer Valley Dream. And I have my Misty Mauve so that I could continue on with it. You can see that pretty color. It's in the center, and then this is Misty Mauve here. And then, so we went to dinner, and then on the way back, we were in close to Foy. And on the way back, I started picking like wildflowers just on the way home. And we were with, of course, I was with Roger, and then my sister, or his sister and her husband. And they're like, Jill, what are you doing? I'm like, I just have this plan. Just don't mind me. I just want to, so I wanted all these flowers, and I made a little display of the stitch along with a really pretty picture of Wendy and my stitch. And so at the time I had just the butterfly. And then during the weekend, I had stitched the flowers, and kind of on just some downtime, Roger and his sister did a lot of resting, and I just like stitched away while they rested, and we just had a great weekend together. And yeah, so O2 Library, thank you Heartstring Sampler, thank you Beth for this one. I used all the called for threads, and they're right here. And they're just really fun. Just like a really rich palette with the dark greens. I'm just so excited to get this one. I have plans to finish this. I don't think I'm going to keep this. I'm going to gift it to Sue, Roger's sister, and as a surprise for her birthday, and her birthday is the end of October. So, okay, so on to more like really good stories that happened to me in Cornwall. Okay, so on the day before we left Cornwall, or Foy, staying with in an Airbnb with Roger's family, we did a break off for a couple of days, and before doing that, I decided to get back to this chart here, Cornish Folkies. And this, I've shown this a couple of times in previous videos. This was gifted to me by Sue. She purchased this in Cornwall during one of our trips a couple of years ago. She found this at one of the museums. National Trust, that I was trying to think of their name, National Trust Museums. And so this was a really special gift to me. It was kitted up and in like with Aida and some really bright threads, and I wanted to tone it down a little bit. And so I started working on it probably like a day before we left the Foy area, and then we were going down, Roger and I were going down to the tip of Cornwall, closer to Gwithian and St. Ives, and we had a place for a couple nights there. And so while we were there, I really wanted to finish it and move on to my other beach-related stitch that I wanted to finish, or actually just kind of work on while I was in that area. And so I just had a few things to do with this, and I actually came to a finish. I'm going to show this to you. I finished Cornish Folkies. Don't you just love it? This is just like a very like medium-sized sampler, kind of a small sampler. It's not very big. It's on platinum 36 count. And I had one viewer, I think on Instagram, that said that she had this was in her whip pile, and she wants to get back to it. So if you want my conversion, just send me a message. But I basically just pulled colors from my stash, and I have them written down. So I had just like this little. I actually had quite a bit to do, but I worked on it while just during downtime while people were resting, and then I had this almost done, but not quite, the bottom border. And then if you remember, I had Demelza's hair of really dark brown, and I had debated whether or not I wanted to change it. And then I started rewatching Poldark, and I realized that her dress was like identical to in season 1, when she's just learning how to be a wife and all the things, and she was always wearing this dress. And so the night before we left the foy area, and I had picked out this hair, and I had changed it to this like goldy red color. Okay, so Demelza and Ross on Poldark, this, doesn't say Poldark on here, but it so much resembles the two characters in the show. And so, of course, I just called this my Poldark sampler. Okay. So the next day, like after I'd almost finished this, it was a Monday, and we had left we checked out of our place, and then we took Sue to the train station. Her husband had left a couple days before, and we just had the best time with her, and we were just going to be apart for 3 days, and then we were going to go back to her house in the Cotswold area. And so Roger and I, we dropped her off at the train station. We went down toward Gwithian Beach, grabbed a pasty at Phillips in Hale. I'm just sharing this so that people who are familiar with that area, that's what we did. And then we went to Gwithian Beach, and it was a beautiful day, just sunny and warm, and there were loads of people enjoying the seaside, and it was just a beautiful day. And we had just planned to spend the next day like to beach it, take all of our stuff and sit and get in the water and all the things. So we just walked, and then we were basically waiting for the time to go check into our room. So we went back to St. Ives, checked in, and there was about an hour, maybe an hour and a half until all the shops closed in the harbor area in St. Ives. And so we thought, okay, well, let's run down. So we did, and we parked and walked down. And I walked down. Roger was a little bit behind me, and I had walked down to the harbor, and it was just, of course, a beautiful day. And there was this mom, and there was a mom on the corner by the harbor, and she just was all by herself with her stroller and her baby. And as I got closer to her in the stroller, I just love babies, and I just wanted to look inside, see her baby. And when babies, after they eat and are just so sleepy, they just kind of go like this. That's how her baby was, just so beautiful and just so like relaxed, and you could see her. And so I walked by, and I just was so fixed on this baby, and I said, "You have the most beautiful baby." And I looked up at her, and she says, "Thank you." And she had this beautiful red hair, and then I just kind of was like, looked down at the baby again, and then Roger was right behind me, and he went immediately up to this woman and said, "Does anyone ever tell you that you look just like that girl on Poldark?" And she immediately said, "Well, actually, I am that girl. And so that was Demelza. So we had just happened upon Demelza in Cornwall. She was there with her husband and her baby for holiday, and she said that she hadn't been back to Cornwall since the show. And okay, so what was the first thing that I said to her? I feel so stupid, but what I said to her was, I just cross-stitched you like last night. I just changed your hair to red. And I was like, I just was so stunned that I had ran into Demelza. And so she was there with her husband, and their husband approached a few minutes. We had spent like 5 minutes just talking. I got a picture with her, and she just was so sweet and took time with us, and was so genuine and so authentic, and her husband the same. And I was just blown away that I actually ran into her, and of course, just in the timely manner of working on a project with her in mind, and it just was really special. I'll never forget it. So that's why I was sharing all the details of just kind of the timing of everything. I'm not going to give you the timing for the rest of my trip. I just wanted to share that just happening to run into Demelza, which her name is not Demelza, her name is Eleanor Tomlinson. So running into Eleanor was just a real treat that I will never forget. It was just so special. So I just consider myself extremely blessed to have that happen to me. So I was actually in shock for, I don't know, like days after. I still am. Like, I can't believe that happened. So I shared it on my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably read that, my whole story. But thanks for listening again, if you have already know about it. So another whip that I worked on, that I have had in progress, that I wanted to get back to while we were in Gwithian, is Summer Snapperland. And there's 4 in the series that are stitched side by side. The lighthouse, the beach, the whale house, and bike ride. So I'm stitching this on one of my colors, which is called Snowbird Sky. It's a blue, a very faint, like sky blue. And let me grab my board and kind of see better. And so this is a Bent Creek, and so what they did is they put a border around it. So while I was in St. Ives and Gwithian area, I had finished the boy on his bike. There is a little fence, and my white was washing out, so I thought I'd find a gray. So that's why it's not done. Otherwise, I would have finished it while I was there. And the Gwithian Chawton, the beach area, is a really special place where Roger spent a lot of time as a boy, and he used to ride his bike there. And so that's one of the reasons why we chose this chart. We actually saw it at Shepherd's Bush one day while he was there. He saw it on the wall. He's like, "Oh, you have to do that for me, Jill." I'm like, okay. So I'm using all the called for threads, and they're just like really, I don't know, just like not too bright, just like really subtle colors. The red is, I'm almost out of the red. The red is here and there. It's just the brick weeks. Here's my Here's my tag for my linen. Snowbird Sky 36. And then I have that, actually the roommates with another stitch that I have in here. This is my Peace and Plenty fabric, Lori Holt. And, oh yeah, this one is actually for my Snapperland summer. And this is a little charm, Lori Holt charm. And I made a little thread bed for it. Okay. And I do have one start that I started on the 4th of July while we were at Sue's house in the Cotswold area. I was missing my kids that day. Just, I knew that I was missing out spending time with everybody. But I did have loads of fun. Okay, before I show you that, so I have my window right here and the light is just like threading through. Okay, in my Souvenirs of Summer, I wanted to start Summer Jubilee. Isn't that pretty? So this is one of their early books. It's published in 2004. And the linen that is suggested is a Lakeside linen 30 count. And I can't remember the color. But I am using Rook. Let's see. I can just tell you. The called for is 18th century Blackbird linen and from R&R, and I'm using 30 count Rook R&R. And now if I can, I actually have some big design boards on order, so it'll be nice when I get those. For now, I'll use this little one. So this is what I've done. So I have all of the, I think I'm gonna close my blind. Just because this might be a little better, yeah. So I basically have, well, you can see the border, which is a very simple border. And then I've got the numbers. I finished the flag. So the flag, it's kind of washing out a little bit. Not sure how the lighting is now with my window closed. It's a very bright blue. It's actually called, I'm using all the called for threads, and the blue is old blue paint. Got all these colors are just so fresh, and for me this design ticks all the boxes for a summer stitch. It has the patriotic flag, it has the flowers, it has whimsical, let me pull this out again so you can see the flowers. And it's just like vintagey. I love the pale greens. What I'm gonna do is, bear with me while I fix my, there we go, fix my lighting. The greens are chamomile and Grecian. They're using Grecian gold, and they're just so similar. Like you can barely tell a difference. And then old brick. All of these are sampler threads, Gentle Arts. butternut squash and flax were for the butterfly. See that? So fun. So this linen is like, I don't know, it's almost burlappy. I love it though. It's different. So I'm loving that. And then when I kitted up this one, I actually kitted up the I think it's called Summer Song, this blackbird. And I'm also using a piece of Lakeside 30. Whoa, I didn't say that. There we go. And here are some of the colors for that. This raspberry parfait. Now the raspberry parfait, okay, pomegranate is what they use in the flag for the Jubilee, but the raspberry parfait is that really bright red in there. And then I don't have the other red. I guess I'm not finished kitting that up, but I have plans to stitch the bird, the blackbird. I don't know if I'll get to it this summer. I will try. I want to get back to this summer Jubilee. I love it so much, and I think, is it Holly? Mrs. Holly Jones. I think she started it and asked if anyone wanted to stitch along. So yes, I'm stitching along with you, Holly. And this is in one of my Americana bags with matching thread bag. So that was my start for the 4th of July. And so I'm going to share with you the experience with going to the Jane Austen Center in Bath and the Jane Austen house during my haul. And so let me just finish my whips. There's only just one more, and that is what I'm doing for Throwback Thursday. So on Thursdays I get this out. I did a little catch up. I actually got it out this Thursday and worked on it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I really wanted to finish the girl's face. I had the hair before England. I had it outlined and almost done, but the face was non-existent and the rest of her dress down here. So I basically filled in all of this. It's all that fine confetti stitching. So that's why it took me so long with all those color changes, but I just love it so much. So I am making progress on my sisters. This is called Summertime, and this is a Stony Creek. Let me get out the chart. If you've watched my other videos, you've seen it several times, but I'll show you for those who have not seen it. And it has a lot of DMC. I'm using DMC. And this is stitched on a lamb's wool. I don't know what color it is. It's just called lamb's wool. And it's actually a 28 count. And I'm stitching it 1/2 on a 28 count because I really wanted it to be fine. And I know with all that fill in, like that consistent fill in, I didn't want it to be bulky. I wanted it to look really fine. And I'm loving how it's turning out. Okay. And I purchased this back in the early 90s, but I didn't start it until 2018. And so I'm calling this my Throwback Thursday because it's my oldest chart that I have in existence. And it's one of my older whips, and I really wanted to get it done, and I'm hoping to get it done this year. So I believe if I continue bringing it out once a week, it'll get done. And then this is just a project bag that I had made myself with some of my fabric in my stash. So fun. Okay, so that's it for whips. And then I do have one more, actually I do have one more whip. This is a finish and a whip. I worked on this on the airplane because it was a big, something that I didn't have to use my magnifier and I could see. Bumblebee etchings. I had started the bee, and then I ran out of the black. Then I got more black. I'm using the Weeks Pearl Cotton for this one. And this one is complete. And it's on the, I can never say this word right. Is it kudzu? Like a green Weeks Dye Works linen. And I believe it's like a 20 count. And then this one, I had the bee done, and then I took the beehive with me and I just worked on it on the airplane. Actually, no, I worked on the bee. I finished the bee on the way there, on the way over, and then on the way home, I had started on the beehive, and I still have the door, and then see how it goes light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark. I just have medium and then dark and the door, and then I'm done. So want to finish that very soon because I'm going to put it into pillows, and I'm also doing the flower. So I think that'll go pretty quick. And then I have some fabric that I purchased at Cowslip. I'll show it to you now, and then I'll give you more details about my visit. But I found this fabric, and it looks so similar. It might be the same as what was used, what Cecile had used on her finish for her pillows that they displayed at market. So really happy with the finish, and then almost finished. And then as soon as I get them all finished, I'll sew them up for pillows for my house. And this one is housed in, I use this bag here. And this is just Hobby Lobby fabric. And I have just this is just a cotton that I found at the quilt store. I don't know who makes it. And then with my matching thread bed. And this time I had decided to, instead of folding it over, I wanted a different color for my edge. So I just did a binding around that one. So that's Bumblebee Etchings. Okay. So for moving on to Jane Austen. While we were visiting Roger's sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, we were only about an hour from Bath, and so we drove to her house in the Cotswold area. She lives near Cheltenham in one of the villages. Just so quaint, so beautiful. We had been there a few times before, and we just had a great week with them. So pleasant. They just treated us like gold. They fed us homemade meals every night with fresh fish. They actually have what's called a fishmonger. So a fish man that comes to their neighborhood once a week, and he brings fish directly from the coast just east of London, and then he comes in and delivers fresh fish. And so we had the most amazing fish every night and veg. It was just really pleasant just to be with them. Okay, so we went to Bath, and we went to the Jane Austen Center. And when you walk by, this is actually a statue. But inside they have this replica, just like she's like this wax mannequin. She's beautiful, actually. So fun. So we took a tour through there. We were in there for, I don't know, about an hour. And toward the end, you have the opportunity to dress up and have like a little photo shoot. And so much to our, like, we did not want to do it, but Sue made us do it. And so I might insert a picture at the end of our shenanigans with Jane Austen Center. But inside that center, there's just a history and overview of her family, and there's artifacts in there, and there's a room filled with information and posters and photographs of the films that were made. The Jane Austen books. There's Sense and Sensibility in 1995 with Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson, and you see like these amazing photographs of just like behind the scenes, and it was just so fun. And that's one of my favorite movies of Jane Austen. And then of course the BBC Pride and Prejudice, and they had all kinds of things related to that. And I didn't get, what did I get there? Oh, I got this shirt. I got this shirt at the center, and also a magnet. Let's see. This is my little, and we were at the counter, and Roger was like, here, you take this, get this. So this is a silhouette of Jane. So it's so sweet. And so we did that, and that was really fun. However, Jane's house, if you have to choose between the two, I would definitely go for Jane's house, Jane Austen's house, which is south. We actually went on our way home, on our way to the airport. We had decided to book tickets, which you have to book in advance for the tickets, because when we got there, they were sold out. Because we thought, oh, maybe we can get a little bit early because we were there an hour early. No, like it was completely sold out. And so, of course, here's my bag, and I just bought a couple things, but I will share just a couple of photos. I don't want to give the whole thing away, so if you're going to go one day, I just want you to experience on your own. But it was just really, really a beautiful spot, and so fun to be in such a historical place. It really was meaningful to me to see the coverlet quilt on display. So this is the house, and there's the display you can see. Ooh. And I have a picture of it, which I'll probably show at the end of my video. And then, of course, Kimmy and I are going to be working on this coverlet quilt. We have the kit for that, which I have right there. And so it was just so special to see that in person. And I tell you what, it is stunning. The preservation on the fabrics, and Riley Blake is just spot on with how they reproduce the colors, the floral, everything about it is just spot on. It's just incredible. To see Jane's writing table in one of the rooms was incredible. Just so fun. And can you imagine writing so much, books and books and books, by hand with ink that, I mean, not even one of these, but on paper, and her table was just tiny, and just, it was just so fun. Just a really great experience to be there and just to see everything in person. They had reproduced the wallpaper that they had found under layers and layers of paint and things like that, of faded wallpaper they had reproduced. And so I think there's 3 different wallpapers, and there's like a yellow and then like a green leaf that's in the living room, like common area where she did her writing. And then this, I decided to get a mug, and this is another wallpaper that was reproduced. And so I decided to get the mug just to remember that. And some cards that I'll be gifting to my special quilty friends. But these are a lady named Eleanor Chawton in 2023. She had, this is 1800 printed cotton day gown inspired. So they had etchings of, what might be the fabrics and the gowns that they wore back in the day. So this is back view of 1795 gown inspired by fabric found in the Austen quilt. (1802) round gown inspired by fabric found in the 1811 Austen quilt. And then 1805 gown inspired by fabric found in the 1811 Austen quilt. So I thought those were really sweet. So I found those to bring back. And then one more thing. So my husband loves books. He loves old books and finding treasures, and he found these for me. And these are, they have a special covering on it just for protection, but these are two novels from the Hamish Hamlet Novel Library, very collectible editions, 1948, Sense and Sensibility and Northanger Abbey. These are very scarce with their dust jackets. The pattern paper used on the boards and dust jackets is by Sarah Nekamkin, a Kerwin Press design. And so he gifted these for me. It surprised me. We saw them in the shop together, and then he went back and got them for me. So very special. So just these little books of great stories. Jane Austen, such a legacy, right? So that was my experience with Jane. And then I do have a couple of more things just stitchy related that I found during the Cotswold experience. We went to one of the shops. I found this little wool hair. So that was cute. And then one of the shops in Broadway. There's a shop called Betty and Violet, and she has an Instagram. And such pretty things in there. Here's her card. Such pretty things. Lots of vintagey things. There's her Instagram at the bottom if you want to follow her. And I just found this little silk baby dress just in this package here. Just a little silk baby dress that I thought I would display somewhere. So I found that little treasure. And okay, I'm going to end with Cowslip. so this is kind of out of order from our travels, but before we left the Cornwall area, it was on our way out, our last day out before we went to Sue's house. We stopped at Tintagel, which is close to Cowslip, by Launceston, in that area. And that was a place that Roger actually had never been to. And if you watch Sean, the periwinkle stitcher, in her, not her video that she just had over the weekend, but the previous, so 2 videos ago, she had shared her experience going to the old post office. And so I was in contact with her. I had wanted to get her mailing address so I could send her some happy mail, and we had a few great email exchange. We had a little conversation, and I told her that we were going to go to the old post office, and she said, okay, you have to get up at the top, up on the shelf, and get a picture. And so I did that for Sean, and for myself. That was just so fun. So we did go to the old post office, and there are some incredible samplers in there. I didn't realize how many. Several in each room, and beautiful. The whole building is historic, restored, beautiful building. The gardens in front and in back were amazing. So that was just so fun. We did that, and then we went over to Cowslip, and I didn't really know what to expect going there. I knew that it was kind of set back in a farm, and there were different buildings, but I didn't realize how big it is. I knew there was a cafe, and I knew there was a quilt shop and a workshop, but there are several workspaces to hold gatherings and different workshops for people like us that love to learn and to collaborate and just to spend time together. I met some amazing ladies there. And so the first thing we did is we drove in and we went into the fabric shop, and we met a lady named Vivian, and she showed us around. When I didn't really know what to expect as far as the patience level of my husband, I kind of, prepped him. I said, I'm going to be spending some time here. Like, it's not going to be in and out. And he's like, oh, I understand. So we walked into the fabric store, the little fabric shop, and I couldn't even focus because Roger was just like, oh, look at this, look at this, oh, look at this, oh, look at this. Like, I mean, we were just both blown away. But I wasn't expecting Roger to be so blown away as much as myself. And so I'm like, okay, just give me a minute. Let's just absorb all this stuff. And so he found a quilt that he loves, and I found one that I love. And so I'll be sharing those with you. And I also found a pillow and some other things, but the feeling that I got in there was just like a different, not method, but just like the way they finish things, and the way, just like, how fabrics kind of speak for themselves, and a way you either display or quilt or finish a quilt. It was very like homespun, very, and like not shabby chic and not distressed, but just very, just like homey and cozy, and you just wanted everything in there. They had a lot of Tilda fabrics. They had a lot of just gorgeous displays of quilts, and then they had a great selection where you see a quilt like, oh, I love that, and they have a kitted up and ready to take home. The kits are designed by a lady named Jo Caldwell, and so this is an example. So they have these pillows that, like, this fabric here is kind of linen-y, just like very soft, and I just love the stitching on there. So there's just a great combination of what we love, like the linen, the stitching, the quilting, the homespun. So I had to get that. And I love blue, and I have a lot of blue in my house. So they did have a red, like pink colorway, but I chose the blue. And then the one that Roger loved, I said, okay, if you choose one, I get to choose one. So this, of course, he loves the sea, and so this was displayed, and this really doesn't do it justice of what it really is. But the ship on there is all applique on, and then the sunset is really what got us. So there's like a half circle, but then the rest of it is like this orange stitching. I don't know if you can see. There we go. Beautiful. So this is for Roger. Sunset on the Sea. Sunset on the Sea. I probably shouldn't have showed you the price on that. But so gorgeous. So pretty. Okay, and then I chose some Tilda. This is just a bundle. So, let's see. So special. I don't know if there's a name for the colors, but they could have just curated them, or if this is a collection, I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with Tilda. This is my first Tilda purchase. So excited about those. And then I got some of this fabric here. It's just like a ticking. And I was looking at it the other day because I can't remember the name of the fabrics, but it's a weight, like it has a weight to it. I really love it. And then we were at the checkout counter, and Roger threw this in for me. This is a little diary for next year. And so this will be fun. Oh, so here's the pink version of that quilt. The pillow. See how cute that is? If there's any. Oh, they have a lot of these Union Jack pillows around in their shop. Okay, so then I got a quilt kit as well. I'll cover the price on there. It is a Jo Caldwell. Now Jo she's the mastermind, the whole establishment. It's hers. It's her baby. She's the owner, and she runs the whole thing with a lot of help. And so Jo, okay, so this has lots of fun, like for example, like look at those fabrics. So pretty. I fell in love with this. This is like the fabrics that I tried to explain to you. Just a mix of cotton prints, but also some of this linen. It's so pretty. Look at this. Beautiful rabbits. I thought I wouldn't be able to duplicate just like the fabric choices. So I went away with, I came home with this, with these beautiful, this is a cotton, beautiful fabrics. Love them so much. Okay, so here's a selvage. I don't even know if this is what company that is. So pretty. And then her cover there. Just love it. Yeah, so quilting treasures for the future. And Vivian, the lady that checked us out, she gave me one of these, just like a little muslin tote bag. So I had the opportunity to meet Jo, and just a pleasure, just a beautiful lady inside and out. And she was actually in the middle of a workshop, but Vivian she just insisted, like, you have to go and meet her, and it doesn't matter if she's in the middle of something. So we went in, and we totally interrupted their class, and we spent some time with them, and I got to see what they were doing. And they were doing a really special applique where you cut, like you put the fabric behind and then you cut away. I'd love to learn that. It was just incredible watching their process. And then she made sure, she's like, did you get a bag? Like, she wanted to make sure that I got a bag. And then we went, she learned about my linen. She wanted to know all about it. And I had a couple of, I had some business cards, so I dropped those off with her, and her, for her friends. And then she wanted to introduce me to another patron, another customer who does a lot of cross stitch. Her name is Sue Maddox. Hi, Sue, if you're watching. Pleasure meeting her. So we went into a different area, a different building where they were doing like a stitch along, like gathering. I wasn't sure if it was just a class or if they were just spending time together. But they were stitching away, and Sue had got up and she wanted to know all about me and spent a lot of time with me, and it was so fun. And then Jo and Sue and I, we have a photo together, and so I'll share that at the end. So what a pleasure. Went to the cafe for lunch. Beautiful. The gardens, amazing. There was just so much to it. So I didn't know what to expect, and I walked away from that experience with just feeling very blessed to have been there and been able to meet Jo and some of the ladies there. So highly recommend a visit to Cowslip, or if you ever have the opportunity to go to a retreat. One day maybe I will. So that was super fun. I have just a couple more things. I have some haul and plans. So I will start with my haul. Actually, it's over here. So plans. I wanted to thank Sean, the Periwinkle Stitcher, for giving me a shout out. It's so nice. She showed her happy mail to all of you who've watched, and I wanted to send her some of my linens, just as a special thank you for her inspiration. And there's so many Flosstubers out there that give us so much joy and inspiration, and she's one of them. And I just thought, what an opportunity to go over there and not only save on some postage, but just kind of share my experience with her. We wanted to meet up at Jane Austen's house, but I think we missed each other by a day. We needed to get on an airplane, and so she shared her experience at Jane's house, and I will share some pictures at the end. Okay, so thank you, Sean. Here is some of my haul. Mrs. McGuire Bee Charmer by Pineberry Lane. Queen Bee Needlehouse Needleworks. I bought this Sorry for the glare. There we go. I ran in to go get my pearl cotton at Shepherd's Bush and I saw that in there. I had to get it. Okay, so here's some the rest are Jane Austen. Elizabeth and Fitzwilliam. I may have shared this last time. Can't remember. But this is a little fun stitch by Annie B. This is actually designed by her daughter Chelsea. And then another one by Annie, Mr. Ferris's Confession. My heart is and always be yours, will be yours. Okay, and then I do have a couple more of these in my shop. This is Pianoforte. I just pulled this out again because I'm going to put it in my Jane bag. I have a Jane bag here that I made out of the panel. Riley Blake is not selling this any longer. If you can get a hold of the panel, I wish I had it for you. I did sell it at one point, but can no longer get it. Okay. And then The Primitive Hare, Jane Austen, Queen of the Needle. I am ready to stitch this one. I pulled out the DMC. They're just very simple grays. So maybe if I put it on this. Really pretty. So this one I'm going to start right away, just as a memento of my Jane Austen experience. Okay, The Best Company. This is Modern Folk Embroidery. Anne Elliot is the character in the book Persuasion, and there's so many, but she's probably one of my most favorite characters in all of Jane Austen's works. And actually read the book Persuasion. I haven't read all the books, but I did read Persuasion and Sense and Sensibility. I don't think I've read Pride and Prejudice, but so when my sister and I work on the quilts this year, we're going to be listening audio to the books. I have two more. And this is another river drift house, like my Cornish Folkies, and they came up with the Jane Austen sampler. This sampler was sold at the Jane Austen Center in Bath, and it was so funny because I knew I had seen it, but then I didn't realize that I actually bought it. And I have one in my shop that I'll list for you. And so my friend Linda had messaged me, have you seen this one? I'm like, I think so, I just can't remember. And then I got home and I had it sitting on my desk, my brain. And then we've got Jane Austen Quaker by Twin Peaks Primitives. And I love this one too. I love all the colors in that. Look at that, it's so stunning. So that is my haul for cross stitch and the quilting cowslip. So that's quite a lot. So in my shopping, bringing gifts home, and I didn't even buy a tea towel. I just knew that I was going to be spending my money at cowslip, and yeah. So there's I think I shared everything with you. I wanted to share, this was just sitting here and I forgot to show you. This is the needle minder. And I'll have these in my shop as well. And then I have a couple of plans. So this might run into September, but I wanted to start this, and I showed this last time, this Stitches Be Sweet, Jeanette Douglas, and I do have the Park City Lights, my linen, kitted up with this, and with the Vicki Clayton silks. So she has a silk pack, if you're interested. And then this is my Park City. So I believe Solis, I think Tara, Sully Stitches, I think she started this one on a lighter linen, which inspired me to go with a lighter. So I pulled my Park City Lights for that. And then I have this one's called the Beehive Sampler. Isn't that pretty? And I needed one more color, and I ordered the Water Lilies, and this is called Papaya. Oh, see that variegation? It's gorgeous. I don't even know how they do that. And I'm going to be stitching this on my Solitude Serenity. This is just a really creamy white. And then these are the colors. I am not organized at all. Like, I have so it's a combination of DMC and the overdyed cottons. Plus the papaya. So just a really beautiful palette, color palette. So excited to start this one. And probably be starting that one in both of those in August. But for the rest of July, we have our state birthday in the state of Utah birthday, which is Pioneer Day. And so I have my Lori Holt needle minder and charm for Pioneer Day. And I have another heartstring samplery Prairie sampler, Prairie Life. I started this 2 summers ago. Yeah, I think it was 2 summers ago. No, just last summer. That's what I have. This is stitched on 36 count. Here it is. Light drab XU design. Just really pretty. Of course, I love Little House on the Prairie. Let me pull this out. Let's see the chart. Okay, so who watched Little House on the Prairie after school when they were little? Me. I did. Love it. And I still love Melissa Gilbert. And she has a collection of fabrics, Riley Blake. And I'm going to have, it's called Evening on the Prairie, and that will be coming in the fall. And I'll be putting together some bundles to sell. So these are the colors. These are all the weeks. So pretty. Just a really pretty fall palette colorway. And then I have my Kimmy made this for me. It's almost like a little floss wallet. It's so pretty, and it has a little zipper. So yeah, with this stitch, Kimmy actually did this one, and maybe I'll share her finish on if she'll send me a picture. Love this one and can't wait to get back to it. So today is the 22nd and Pioneer Day is the 24th. So this week I'll be getting this one out and giving it some love. And so those are my plans. And of course, I'll be doing some quilting, probably be working on my Jane Austen coverlet here soon. I appreciate your support and spending time with me today. I hope that you have time to stitch and enjoy this last maybe 6 weeks of summer that we have left. And I hope that you are able to find time to spend with your family and friends and enjoy good weather. And just wanted to reach out to those that are suffering right now, either in health situations or with loss. My thoughts and prayers are with you. Be grateful and inspired every day, and we'll see you next time.